In South Sudan, the Humanitarian Organization Save the Children says about 1.4 million children under the age of 5 are suffering malnutrition. This comes at a time when the country is experiencing a hunger crisis worsened by floods and conflict. In a Friday statement, Save the Children added that floods in the last 4 years have destroyed homes and crops, affecting 615,000 people, with women and children affected the most. The World Food Programme, on its part, says the situation is worsened by soaring global food prices caused by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. WFP now warns 11 million people in South Sudan could face extreme hunger this year. And let's now bring in Patrick Oyet, who is in Juba, South Sudan, for us. Patrick, there are reports indicating that 1.4 million children under the ages of 5 are suffering from malnutrition in South Sudan. What do you know about this?
Yeah, Beatrice, it's alarming numbers, and perhaps the number might even go up according to aid agencies. This is because of several factors. Of course, number one factor, the biggest, is the issue of flooding, because for 4 consecutive years now, most parts of this country is actually underwater. The whole of states that are in the northern part of the country are underwater. Then you have also the western part of South Sudan that borders Democratic Republic of Congo. Parts of it is now also underwater. The eastern part, Jonglei State, which borders Ethiopia, is underwater. So the residents there have never farmed for these past 4 years, and that is really a challenge. They have to depend on fish because, of course, the waters come with fish, but it is not the only thing you should be eating, really. And then they depend on aid agencies. And the aid agencies are also saying they are having problem with the issue of funding. They do not have funding because of the issue of the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and for that reason, you find a family is, for example, depending on a meal a day. And that means mothers, if they don't feed well, the children definitely cannot even have proper milk. They cannot have proper feeding. And that is really one of the biggest challenges. Then you have the problem of insecurity, especially in the Equatorial region, the region that borders Uganda and Kenya. You have, because of the problem of flooding also, some communities, because their areas are underwater, they have moved to higher grounds, and these places are having people who depend on farming. There have been conflicts, and the farmers have actually moved out of their homes. So again, people have also not farmed because of the conflict, creating another problem of food insecurity. Then you have again another problem of inflation. Food prices have gone very, very high at the time when the government actually does not have money. Most of the civil servants are not being paid salaries, so they do not have anywhere to turn to. So those are really the big challenges that we have as far as the issue of food crisis is concerned, and now is going to the children, Beatrice.
So, Patrick, you know, the whole question of the hunger crisis, you know, what impact is the hunger crisis in South Sudan, which is currently, you know, experiencing that? How is that impacting and contributing to malnutrition, and how is the government and agencies generally responding to the situation?
Yeah, it impacts the hunger crisis. The food problem impacts directly to malnutrition because, first of all, in order for even the small children who are still breastfeeding, in order for them to have quality milk from their mothers, the mothers must feed well. And if the mothers are not feeding well because they do not have food, then definitely those children are likely to be malnourished. Another thing is also access to medical care is a problem because now the World Health Organization has just said more than 60 health centers, especially those in the rural areas, are now underwater. So people do not have access to even health services. So that also directly affects the health of the children and the mothers. And of course, now like the WFP, World Food Programme, is saying they are trying their best to try to deliver food to some of the people in need. But the challenge is that most of the roads are cut off now. Bridges have collapsed. It's a challenge to take food there. You have to use food airdrop, and the airdrop itself, WFP says, is 4 times more expensive than transporting food using roads. And even to identify higher ground, dry area where to drop this food is a challenge. Once you identify, you drop them. When you drop them there, transporting them from where you have dropped to where the population is, you need a lot of canoes to move them to rivers to again transport to people. So the humanitarian aid provision challenge is so big, let alone the issue of having money. Even if you have the food that you want to distribute to people, how to get the food to the people is also still a very big challenge. So yeah, that's really the situation at the moment, Beatrice.